It gets better after 100 hours, bro, trust me. You probably heard this before, whether it's about a game or a show. In the words of Josh Strife,
the old saying, if I had longer, I would have written a shorter letter.
Just like with a video, if the intro doesn't keep you hooked, then you're not obligated to stick around and find out if it does in fact get better. This video will sort of be like the opposite of Strife's worst MMO ever videos, as instead of dedicating a 30 minutes long video to an MMO with like 60 hours of gameplay, every game will get around 5 minutes with around 2 hours of gameplay. I'm trying to find the best intro after all. If a questline takes longer than 2 hours, I will cut it short. I'll also be trying a different class in each game to keep a diverse experience. A couple of notes before I start. I picked 6 games within 3 categories. Big games with over 10,000 players, mid games with over 1,000 players, and dead games with around 100 players or less. I also did little to no research on these games. I want to go in blind. Imagine a friend recommending something and saying that it's the best game ever created. If you have any suggestions for games for a future video, feel free to comment them.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it.
Get on with it!
When I found out about a pirate MMO, well, Sea of Thieves excluded, I was pumped to try it out. So I grabbed Pirate 101. At the risk of sounding like a heathen, I have to clarify that I never played Wizard 101. Okay, so this game plays like an SRPG. At least it's going to be different from the average MMO. Well, I hope so at least. Released by King's Isle Entertainment in 2012. A minor nitpick is that the game first launches in a cooked resolution. Can't really complain about that though, given how old the game is. Going through the character creation, I noticed that you can't actually name your character. I was kind of hoping that would mean characters will refer to my guy by his name. I named my character Sleepy Jonathan and proceeded to start the game. We get broken out of jail by a pirate and a monkey with a French accent.
Is this the prisoner we're looking for?
A surrender monkey? I got the option to pick my backstory and class, and I went with a witch doctor. We walked around and met our first party member, a goat monk. Anyway, a quick stroll later and we're introduced to the combat. As I already said, this is an SRPG, so it's a tactical turn-based game. Meaning, as opposed to traditional turn-based games, you have to actually get in range of an enemy to be able to attack them. One advantage being turn-based will usually have though, is the fact that you can have great attack animations, which to be honest will get old at some point, so I hope I would have the option to skip animations. There is nothing really remarkable about the combat so far. If you played Shadowrun or Devil Survivor, then you know how this plays. You know, minus the demons and guns. So after beating the deacons, we get out of there and we're introduced to sailing. I will have to admit, my dumbass somehow didn't realize we are sailing in the air. I was hoping we'd get to have some ship combat, but sadly, we got cock-blocked from that. A couple of minutes later, and we make it to the city. You know, the hub, the nexus, or whatever MMOs call their central areas. We meet Captain Avery, who is basically going to be the quest guy. We are promised a ship of our own if we kill someone named Finn for him. We also meet Bonnie Ann, who joins the party. I prefer her over Goatman since she gets an extra attack after killing an enemy. After doing a bunch of conveyor belt quests, as in kill X enemy Y amount of times, we finally make it into his hiding place, but it's flooded, so we're supposed to drain the water. And right before entering the next room, I found a bunch of sigils. Apparently you can do the dungeon with other players, which I guess is to be expected from a fucking MMO, but in the case of this game, it ain't happening. We engage in combat with a bunch of enemies, but as it turns out, you don't actually have to fight them. I just bum rush the statues and instantly won the fight. Side note, I noticed that a lot of my attacks would fizzle, and I kind of hate how the game doesn't even bother explaining the mechanic. In case you're interested in playing the game, it's affected by accuracy, which you can get off of equipment. That being said, with the water drained, it's time to confront Finn.
You made 3 mistakes, pirate. First, you took the job. Second, you didn't bring an army. Last, don't fight me in the dark. The dark is where I shine.
Alright, I will admit that was kinda funny. Too bad he didn't talk about family though.
Family, 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 family.
With the quest done, it's time to go claim our reward.
That's the one. And what a ship she is. You'll be the terror of the sky.
We got scammed. The ship is a fucking raft. No problem. Instead of a refund, Avery shares some
Deepest lore.
before giving us another quest. He sends us to meet a trainer for witch doctors named Vadima, who tells us to meet with Skinny Pete in an inn. It's like bureaucracy, but with quests. While I make my way to the inn, I just wanted to ask, why do traditional MMOs have weird ass camera controls? Instead of just moving your mouse, you have to hold right click click and drag. Is there some reasoning behind it? The only thing I could come up with is it's for people who like to click on spells and cast them, but I don't think there is anyone that deranged. Alright, back to the game. Skinny Pete sends us to a private meeting in the tavern cellar. Not a very private meeting if you're gonna send a random down there, to be honest. The meeting seems to be going south and we side with the water mole to fight a bunch of rat pirates. After finishing up, we go after the remaining rats. Arriving at their cave, it turns out the leader poisoned his crew and they're stuck as ghosts because of their misdeeds. So they will tell us his whereabouts if we help them. The first one locked his old captain up in a cave conveniently placed right next to him. We meet up with Zadok and instead of just getting him out of there, we have to go up a hole to a lost city. I didn't expect to find a lost city that quickly into the game. Kind of weird that the only access to said city is a bucket. We meet the Halo Elite.
A scaleless one in Sholak Mool, and you came from the Well of Stars. Impossible.
Who task us with killing a god. I won't lie, the dungeon is very tough. Some of these enemies are tanky as hell, but thankfully there aren't too many encounters in this area, for the most part. It was in this dungeon where my character died for the first time, though as opposed to the average RPG, that's not an instant game over. That's nice. We had to destroy a couple of statues. I assumed this was just finishing up the dungeon, but nope, there was an actual dungeon boss. Beelining towards the statue wasn't an effective tactic here, because you have to destroy it, and this thing had like 300 HP. The boss also wasn't a very pleasant fight, as he'd randomly fully heal himself. After cleaning up his goons, I decided that DPS test simulator wasn't worth it, and I just rushed the statue. With that being done, and with the curse lifted, it's time to finish up the quest. What was the quest about anyway? Why am I helping reptiles with their god issues? Ah yes, lost city treasures. We go back to Zadok and he forgives the rat. And yeah, that was it. I had 2 hours and the next quest is paywalled. The dungeons are fun and challenging without being tedious. The turn-based combat is somewhat refreshing given the average MMO gameplay. Some of the animations are tedious, and they don't do a very good job explaining certain mechanics, like explaining how opportunity attacks and Overwatch attacks work. And I would have loved it if we got to experience ship combat in the first hours of gameplay. All in all, I honestly wouldn't mind continuing this past the 2 hours mark. So this game passes the intro test. This is the first time we start off strong, to be honest. Usually it's an asset flip or some shit. The next game is a Dungeons & Dragons MMO, developed by Cryptic Studios in 2013, Neverwinter. The game starts off with a bunch of really cool cinematics. Fast forward a few minutes and we got our character creator. First thing I noticed is paywalled classes. That's a massive L in my books, to be honest. So I went with Guy and picked Barbarian as my class. After making sure all the sliders were at the extremes and struggling to get rid of the muscles, I really was going for the Discord mode jokes, but whatever. I proceeded to set my character as a tier worshipping flaming fist mercenary. I don't really know if deity affiliation and origins have effects on gameplay, or if it's just for role-playing purposes. And with that out of the way, I finally started the game. The tutorial, and the game for that matter, are as standard MMO as it gets, though I have to note, I really love the sound design. At least for the Barbarian class. The hit and ability sounds are extremely satisfying. So far, we only have basic attacks and the spin to win move. I killed a bunch of zombies while being in awe at the damage numbers. I don't really know why do I start off with triple digit numbers, but that's how it is, I guess. I meet up with Makos, who despite me being a seemingly random soldier, was waiting for me instead of taking any of the dozen of soldiers that were there right next to him. He proceeds to one-shot a dragon despite him struggling with it in the intro cinematic.
You might want to brace yourselves for this.
I was kinda hope I'd get to fight it, to be honest. I picked up my second skill, which is just an empowered basic attack. Kill a few more zombies, and we are tasked with... kill a bunch of zombies, but on a timer this time. We meet with Celeste, who tells us to fuck off and kill zombies on the bridge. After killing the bridge, we fight our first boss. And this is where I found out that you can actually dodge the enemy attacks, sort of. So you could technically solo a boss while taking little to no damage, only applicable to the early game, for obvious reasons. After that, we are taken to the Protector's Enclave, which I'm guessing is the hub for this game. We talk to the sergeant for combat training, and honestly, from here on out, the game sort of became a blur. It sort of just becomes generic. For the next hour, Literally every quest I did could be boiled down to talk to quest giver, kill X monsters on a timer, collect reward, repeat. I know this sounds like I'm oversimplifying it, but that's literally what it felt like. This is technically the MMO formula, but then why would you play something that peaks at 1,000 players instead of playing World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy? If I could describe this game in one word, it will be inoffensive. Would I play this again? Probably not. I will say this though, if you're an MMO appreciator and you're also a huge Dungeons & Dragons enjoyer, then this would be a great game for you. I feel like this was somewhat brief compared to the first game, but I respect your time, and honestly, there is literally nothing remarkable about this game. In either case, next game. This game is a relatively new Korean MMO, developed by Mir4 was released in 2021. This game seems to be a mobile game port, which is honestly not a very good sign to be honest. The words MMO and mobile should never be in the same sentence in my opinion. While picking my character, I realized that they fucking gender lock the classes. I noticed that Lost Ark had the same thing. Is this like a Korean MMO thing? Anyway, gender locked classes are the second worst thing after mobile MMOs. I decided to go with a discount Dante looking class. I smeared him with baby oil and finished up my character creation. Right after making our character, we are greeted with a pre-rendered cutscene running at 720p 30 FPS, where a guy saves a girl from an arrow, then proceeds to stab her for whatever reason. Starting the game, I met this runt, who seems to be Le Companion. I hope it's not a Genshin Impact moment.
네가 무슨 생각하는지 다 보이거든. 이 몸은 마물 따위가 아니라.
Please no, I don't have the willpower for that. Holy fuck, what is this UI, man? This genuinely looks ironic. It's like one of those Elden Ring if it was made by EA memes. So on screen, permanently, there are two text boxes telling us that some random schmuck got some random item from a box. I think you're starting to see my reaction upon hearing the words mobile and MMO together. The game uses touchscreen controls, which is absolutely brain dead. But one saving grace is the fact that you can queue up spells, a solution for a problem that shouldn't even exist to be honest. But whatever, even though it's unique so far, as in uniquely brain dead, it still manages to slap me with a conveyor belt quest. After clearing the area, I noticed that there is an option to auto battle, as well as an option to auto move. What the fuck is the point of these? Are you supposed to just let this play itself while having launched or something?
네, 맡겨주십시오.
I don't really like having a voiced protagonist, but whatever, can't really be nitpicking every small detail, because there is some way dumber shit to worry about. The game has a dodge button, but it's on a 16-second cooldown. I think you're sort of expected to just cookie cutter this shit. The environment and the art style to a certain degree kinda remind me of Neo 2. And honestly, the more dumbass shit the game pulls, the more I feel inclined to just hop on Neo instead. After rescuing the princess, who is living in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, we learn an ultimate skin. It can also be auto-activated, so I don't even get what's so special about it. Now, this chain of events has to be the funniest shit I've ever seen.
어서! 대안들이 숨겨있다! 오해야 해!
Anyway, fast forward half an hour, and I noticed that I had like 1200 summon tickets. So I decided to start summoning. While summoning, I realized that my character was still actually moving, so the game can literally play itself while you gamble your money away. I opened a fuck ton of cases and I have genuinely no clue what I was getting. But I do know that out of 900 summons, I got 2 orange items. I'm assuming these are legendaries, and I was presented with the option to combine items for a chance at a high level item, which was also a massive fucking scam. Checking the shop, I found out that had I bought these chests, it would have cost me 1,080,000 gold to get the 2 legendaries. How much is that in real money, you ask? No fucking idea. You can't buy gold when you're on Steam. This was very strange. Then I found out why. This is a fucking crypto game, or an NFT game, or whatever people call them. I will admit though, this is a higher quality game than the average game Jean shows on his channel. But that bar is so fucking low, it might as well be below sea level. So it's not the most impressive feat. But it makes sense now. The fact that this game can literally play itself while you gamble in the shop. It's kinda sad to me, because I feel like as a game developer, you want people to experience your game, not just toss their phones and let it do the playing for them. All this game managed to do is fill me with an urge to play new, and I suggest you do the same. Would I play this again? Fuck no. No one should touch this pile of garbage game with a 10-foot pole. If you want to play a case opening simulator, go play a MMO game. At least they have playable games. The next game seems to be made by a very small team, developed by Marksnet. RPG-MMO was released on 2015. As soon as I tried to put the game on full screen, it crashed. Oh well, let's try again. So you start in sort of a tutorial island. NPCs will teach you combat, which is basically just right-click an enemy and wait. You can change your combat mode by picking from different modes, either focusing on all stats, focusing on accuracy, strength, defense, or HP. I stuck to the balanced combat mode. After finishing activities and quests, you can get a capture. I've never seen this before, like in any game, but I guess it's a good alternative if you can't afford bot detection or some shit. Archery is somewhat unique in this MMO, as you basically have a finite amount of arrows, which is annoying early on, but I'm guessing later on it means you can swap out arrows as needed. For example, ice arrows, fire arrows, etc. Instead of having to swap bows every time. The remaining trainers teach you magic, mining, logging, smithing, fishing, cooking, and alchemy. I guess that's all they teach you. None of these activities have any animations, which I really shouldn't be complaining about because, again, small dev team. But it's kinda odd, as there is no indication as to whether I'm correctly engaged in an activity or not. One weird thing I encountered, and that could be just me being a complete brainlet, during the smithing tutorial, you have to make a weapon. But in order to smith the weapon, you need fire, and if you want to start fire, then you need wood. But you can't get wood until you get to the next tutorial. But if you go to the next tutorial, you can't backtrack. As I said, that could be just a skill issue. But that's a very strange oversight if it's not just me. Despite never playing old school RuneScape, I can say this game feels like it, and that's because they literally said that in the game description. After around an hour of gameplay, I sort of can't be fucked keep going. It sort of felt a bit too counterintuitive, as in, I was kinda clueless what the fuck was I supposed to be doing. Usually, even when a game doesn't click, I can keep going for a bit longer. Not with this one though. I feel like I have to apologize to the developers, because I can clearly tell that it's a labor of love, especially after the last game. So sorry for cutting this a bit short. Would I play this again? I mean, probably. I might actually give it a second shot. You know, maybe on stream or some shit. On that note, time to move on. This one looked promising. I really like the cutie voxel art style. Developed by Gaimigo, Trove was released in 2015, described as a sandbox MMO. Alright, let's get started. I picked Gunner, for my character class. It starts off with a basic tutorial, movement and abilities. You have 3 abilities and a dodge. Quick note though, the game never specifies it, but you can jump up to 8 times, because for some reason, I thought you could only double jump. Gameplay loop is solid. It kind of reminds me of Risk of Rain 2, at least before the DLC. I don't really know how the game is right now. Within 2 missions, the game made me open up the shop as a part of a quest. In fact, it made me open up 2 separate shops. That's a massive peeve of mine. Let me play the fucking thing for more than a couple of hours before trying to take my money away. A few minutes later, we're thrust into the open world. There are a bunch of biomes I think, each having its own unique enemies and difficulty. And I found that the open world dungeons kind of suck if I'm being honest. You really get no indication of who the boss is or where the entrance is even at. I know it's meant to encourage exploration, and it's good that the game doesn't hold your hands, but still, I have around 30 minutes at this point. I could really use a few pointers to start out. The game feels like a looter shooter with the amount of guns you will drop from enemies. Like a dungeon had a bunch of different weapons drop. Oh, I forgot to mention, but the game has a build mode. I really didn't get far into it because I couldn't give less of a shit about it due to me not being really a Minecraft enjoyer, it feeling like a mechanic they slapped on to say Minecraft MMO, though I should give them the benefit of the doubt. Every time you get a new mechanic, they let you play around with it for a bit in the open world before introducing something else, which I really liked, though maybe that's a standard MMO thing. I have no idea. The inventory limit is really a dumbass issue to me. In a game where you're gonna be hoarding shit like a goblin, paywall in something like inventory feels dumb at best and predatory at worst. See, this is my main issue with the game. Everything I said so far could be written off as a nitpick or whatever, but damn, this game keeps trying to get into your wallet. It kind of gets annoying very quickly. I did the Delve, which is basically a legacy dungeon, where I actually have to spend more than 4 minutes in a dungeon. I waited for a bit in queue and was matched with another player. You have to do a bunch of objectives while on a timer, and I kinda felt lost. I had no idea whether I was doing it correctly or not. For example, I was supposed to destroy a bunch of monoliths, but I had no idea What was I supposed to be looking for? I was just hoping I'd know it when I see it. You can just call this a skill issue, and guess what? You're probably right. I don't like hand-holding in games, but come on, you gotta throw me a bone from time to time. Right after this, I got introduced to gems, which basically exploded my health bar and power rating. And by the time I got the gems, I hit the 2 hours mark and called it quits. Even though the game is fun, as I said, sort of feels like Risk of Rain, the lack of guidance and the amount of times it tried to get me to pay money, I probably wouldn't play this again. The game has potential to be fun, but I really hate getting pestered about paying to skip progress or whatever. I don't mind microtransactions, but I think dumping them on a very new player is just dumb. If the game is good, I'll probably spend money on my own. Moving on, I guess you could say I saved the best for last. Or not, depends on your opinion. I think this game has a massive budget compared to everything else, so it's probably to be expected. You most definitely saw this game at least once or 100 times, depending on your social media usage. Developed by Sandbox Interactive, Albion Online was released in 2017. This seems to be a multi-platform / cross-save game, so even though it does support mobile, it's not a mobile MMO. Or I'm just coping. This is the first isometric game we play. You move with right click as you would expect from any isometric game. There are no classes in this game. You can use any weapon you want whenever you want, which is a huge plus in my book. Tutorial teaches you about farming, as in gathering wood and shit, which oddly enough is a change of pace, because I'm kinda used to the conveyor belt quests by this point. Compared to the last few games, combat feels generally smoother, though that could be because I'm used to this control scheme. You can progress the skill tree by gathering resources, crafting, or engaging in combat. At least that's what I got so far. The game has a sort of permadeath mechanic, where if you get down, you can give up instead and lose all your shit. Also, if you're in a PvP zone and you get killed by another player, they can loot your stuff. So you know, you could catch someone who just got done farming and skip farming for yourself. Sort of like Rust. One nitpick I got is that the Destiny tree should have been held off for a bit longer. It kinda comes on very early in the game while you're still trying to figure shit out and sort of overwhelms you. Moving on, after finishing a bunch of quests, I got premium for 3 days, which is not usually a good sign to be honest. Going back to the lack of classes, the skills are bound to the gear you're using. So at least early on, you don't need to invest anything in any weapon. After finishing the tutorial quests, the game sort of opens up and tells you to go at it. I checked online to see if the game has wipes, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Oh, and regarding the permadeath thing, you should be able to store your items in the hub, though I don't think you can use the same box in every hub. I definitely see myself coming back to this game, and honestly it has by far the best 2 hours out of every game I played today. I mean, it makes sense, the game probably had a bigger budget than every other game in this list combined. With that being said, if I were to make a quick tier list of these games, I'd place them as follows. In the S tier, I would put both Albion Online and Pirates 101, as I really enjoyed both games for the entirety of the 2 hours. In the A tier, I would put Trove. Despite the obnoxious monetization, it was a genuinely fun experience. In the B tier, I would put Neverwinter. As I said earlier, it's an inoffensive game. In the C tier, I would put RPG MMO. Despite the efforts, I really couldn't bring myself to enjoy the game. Maybe RuneScape type games just aren't for me. I would skip the D tier and go straight to the F tier, where I would be placing Mir 4. Ad game is awful. The entire purpose of it is to be a cash grab. Reminder, NFT games are not games. Anyway, thanks for sticking till the end. Again, if you have any MMOs you'd like me to try or any suggestions for a future video, feel free to comment it below. Also, server link is in the description. Alright, bye.